I don't know if you've heard K2 before. It's a new content component. Think of Joomla's core component, far more powerful, with added functionality that makes it well. It's what we say. It's the way we would like to see Joomla be at some point in the future. So. So what is K2? I'm not going to bore you with too many slides. I only got 10 slides, and then I'm going to show you the demo, so you'll see everything firsthand. So like I said, K2 is a content component which has some features that make it possible for you to construct new content types. That means that you can actually extend the content form and add new fields in a way that wasn't possible so far with Joomla. This has been a known concept, however, with Drupal and their CCK module, which actually stands for Content Construction Kit. So what it does, so what CCK for Drupal and K2 do is that they actually extend the article as we know it for Joomla. It's not this component is standalone, which means that it does not actually extend the core Joomla articles. It was technically impossible to do that. So we've built this new component, and it can transform your Joomla website to many things: a new site with author blogs, a product catalog, a work portfolio, knowledge base, download manager, directory listing, event listing, and a whole lot more. And all this is bundled under one component with 3 or 4 modules and some system plugins to do a few things like extend Joomla search to K2 content as well. So what are the main features of K2? What makes it stand out aside these CCK-like characteristics? Well, it's essentially Joomla 1.6 and a lot more. So we have nested level categories. We have a powerful comment system with integration with services for fighting spam. We have tags. We have the extra field system, which we can extend the item elements. That means we have this base form, and we can add, for example, new text fields below this base form. Imagine a cinema website where you have your articles for new movies, and then you want to have the details of the movie producers and the cast in separate fields. You can easily create those fields and append them to the content form. This is what the extra field system does in K2. We also have a distinct item image per item. This is something that all commercial CMSs got. When you're dealing with websites, with big news websites and journalists, it's kind of difficult to start explaining the concept of the WYSIWYG editor and what you have to do to upload images, resize them, etc. So K2 has a separate form for uploading your image. We also have an image gallery and a video option. So we can have, so our form essentially has distinct boxes for these features, and we don't have to use plugins. But for the sake of functionality and ease of use, we're using 2 of our plugins, which are they are in the 10 most popular plugins ever built for Joomla. That's the statistics from the Joomla extensions directory. We use all videos for videos, and we use the simple image gallery for the image gallery. What it does is it uses the form in the component to upload the video or the images and then it runs the plugins on the background to interpret this as an image gallery and a video, respectively. We also have attachments, and they offer tracking. So this goes down to the download manager I said before. Now the new features that we've added in K2 stable, which is going to be marked as version 2. Now we got user profiles and blogs. That means that all users can have their own page. So consider this like a small community feature for K2. At any point, any user can become a blogger, and if they write articles, they have their own page for these articles to show up. We now have a versatile ACL system, which is integrated within K2. The idea was, again, that we could not wait for Joomla 1.6. So we built a small ACL system with the basic features that we're going to need. What are these features? You want to have control over who edits what, or who comments what. So, inspired by Drupal, we created this action-based system where we can create user groups by defining which users we want, and then we can assign actions to these user groups. So, for example, consider a big website like New York Times. You have your news sections and you have your blogs. We can create a group called bloggers, and they can do specific things in specific areas. Likewise, you can have your regular authors, your journalists, having the ability to edit content, input new articles in specific categories only. And we extend that a bit more by adding, if for example we have an intranet where the restrictions can be, we may want to have more restrictions. We can even restrict who can comment, as in such scenarios, everyone in an intranet or extranet has to be registered. So I guess you can understand my point on this one. So the ACL would be kind of useless if it was if the editing was only part of the backend. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but Joomla, with its limited groups of users, you have to be part of a specific group of users in order to go to the backend and edit content. That means you have to be at least a manager, an administrator, and of course a super admin. So if we want to have the ACL for people that occasionally blog, or imagine journalists that contribute an article once a month, you have to have a front-end front-end article submission system. And this system hooks up with the ACL and does the things that I told you before. This system is Ajax-based. What it means is that you can say that I'm a journalist and I'm contributing articles occasionally for some websites. I log into the website, and whenever I navigate to the category or the blog page that I'm supposed to edit, I see these little icons that I can add or edit my items. These icons, these links, they open up lightbox pop-ups where we have the admin form within, exactly as it is on the back end. So this has two advantages. First of all, we have all the features of the back end ported over to the front end. And the other good thing is that it doesn't mess up with our template. So we can have a template, for example, that's 3 columns, and the inner column is small, that it's impossible, for example, to fit in the content form. So by using lightbox pop-ups, we make this more versatile, more easy to use, without breaking, of course, the template. And last but not least, one thing that we're actually very proud of, because it can extend K2 to many new things. We've built a new powerful plugin system using Joomla's API, and we can extend the forms in the items, in the categories, and the user. So imagine that, for example, the cinema website example I gave you before. If I use the extra fields, I would have to go into the component, into the related section, and create those extra fields one by one, group them, and then assign them to some category so they can be visible in the forms. But using a plugin, I can do a lot more. For example, I can have these fields that I want pre-packed. So you just install the plugin using the Joomla installer. No third-party installer, no custom installer. Just a plain Joomla installer. And this plugin can hook up to the forms and extend them, both in the backend and the frontend. See, the principal difference with how Joomla works now is that you cannot extend the forms in the backend. So this is something that we do now with the K2 plugin system. So why K2? As you can see, Joomla has been left behind by its other two competitors, Drupal and WordPress. And this comes down to things like social features and flexibility. Categorization, tagging, thesaurus is the strong things in Drupal, and the ACL as well. The expansion is also different. You can use, for example, Drupal to extend the forms, which is something that Joomla cannot do. And you can do that with WordPress as well. So all the things that are missing from Joomla and that exist on these two popular platforms have been merged within K2. As you know, it's Joomla 1 started in September 2006, and since then the basic features, the features that matter to the end user, they haven't changed not a single bit. So this is something that is supposed to be integrated within Joomla 1.6, but then we're talking about breaking compatibility and a whole lot of issues. Not to mention when Joomla 1.6 is going to be released. So the third reason for going with K2 is that Joomla is being developed very slowly, and this comes down to the speech that Johan gave earlier, who's behind the project. So since there's no specific, the project is not owned by anyone. So it's not like Drupal or WordPress, which are owned by Dries Wittel and Matt Mullenberg. So it's difficult, to shift development forward without having 10 people decide on basic things and get the project going. So these are the three main reasons why we went for K2. And we've made this a reality, so we're not just words. SoftOne is one of the biggest IT companies in Greece. I'm from Greece. And they're actually a Microsoft vendor. So we built their website with K2. If we had the original thought was to build their website with Drupal, because it's all the features that they wanted, tagging, comments, ACL was a core part of Drupal. But then again, we would be missing the best thing that the best feature in Joomla, which is templating. You don't have the flexibility in templating with Drupal that you have with Joomla. So we shifted development. We pushed development further, so we can fix K2. We can realize K2 faster. And this one is actually using K2 beta if you've had the chance of using it. I will proceed later on to show you the actual website. And here's all the information you can get about the project and documentation and other stuff that we're going to be slowly uploading. The coming week, we're going to present the stable version, which I'm going to show you today. And this, of course, it will be, of course, available for free. So now I'm going to show you the demos. I don't know if you have any questions so far.
It will be free in the future?
It will always be free, because if you want to make it succeed, it has to follow a Joomla similar approach. It has to be open and it has to be free.
Nice.
If people are motivated by it, they will extend it and they will develop for it. So this is the demo website that we've built with the stable release. Like I said, K2 is made out of a component, 4 modules, and a plugin, a Joomla system plugin, which is used for extending Joomla search. The modules are actually retrieving content from articles. One module is for items, the other is for comments, and there's a generic module which does all sorts of things like produce a pathway, a category listing, and a whole lot more. So this is, we're using the default template of Joomla, and we've built this. This is, if I recall, this demo retrieves all categories in this page. As you can see, it's clear that there are many new elements that are not existent to content, the core component for Joomla. It's a more professional solution, one that can actually bring content developed, made with Joomla to an enterprise class level. When you have a news portal, you want to have the ability to have, for example, article images, the thing that I told you before. You want to have credits, you want to have captions. These may seem small or insignificant, or you may say, okay, we can do this with plugins. But imagine what a journalist would have to know before going into this. So K2 is also dummy proof. It's very easy to use. I'm gonna go into the article page, the item page as we prefer to use it. We are kind of anachronistic. We go back to the terminology used in Joomla 1 because K2's items can be extended to articles, product pages, and a whole lot more. So as you can see, we got the title, the font size of these buttons, the anchor links, the image that I told you about. We can style the intro text differently from the full text, so we can make our content, stand out, or have our typography more close to big news portals and the way news portals use content. We have our videos. Here's the plugin running. I'm going to show you the plugin in the back end. We have the author bio available if we want to use it. So as you can understand, this can easily be used as a blog page. And we can do all sorts of things as standard, like choose to retrieve the latest items from the author, or choose to display related items. Then we got our tags, our categories, our social links. We got the video. This is actually a video produced by the one K2 plugin that we made, which again I'm going to show you in the back end how it works. So this is the video that has its own form in the back end. The user uploads a video, it displays over here. And we have the photo gallery as well. Now imagine, I don't know if you've seen CNN.com. They actually have all this sort of information. It may seem a lot to you, but they actually do have it. And they achieved this by breaking these parts into tabs. So you have one tab for the main content, the article, another tab for the video, third tab for the images, and a fourth tab for the comments. So being fully developed using the MVC pattern, you can do whatever you want with K2. It's not limiting you at all to the way you can style your item pages. And of course, we have the comments, which are now integrated using avatars. All the features that you want from a commenting system. So this is the page. This is, let's say, the main item page in its fully extended, fully shown. We've not actually. We haven't just put our work into extending content as the way we'd like to see Joomla, so it can compare to Drupal and WordPress. We've made it as similar as Joomla as possible. It's obvious that this pattern is selected so that it's familiar to users. If at some point you decide to switch from core Joomla articles to K2 items. So what we have here is our items, our categories, nested level categories, our tags, comments, users, the user groups, the extra fields that I told you about, and the groups, and some system information pages. We have some basic parameters. These are global parameters. These are set, they may seem too much at first sight, but you set these once and forget them. They're not in the middle of the content. I think that differentiates K2 significantly to the way we've used Joomla core articles so far is that styling and the templating, and to be more precise, the content presentation is by no means affected by the item ID. I don't know if you've dealt with templating or developing some website, some big website with Joomla. What does that mean? What's the problem with the item ID? It means that if I have created, say, 2 categories, one is articles, the other is a knowledge base. Okay, we obviously have different things in those 2. The articles are just a title and a text and some comments. The knowledge base is a lot more. If we developed the display of K2 in the front end the way Joomla does it now, you would click on a tag from, you would click a tag here in the articles. If this tag exists in the knowledge base, then all the layout of the knowledge base would carry on the item ID and mess up your the elements that display. So, for example, if on the knowledge base you didn't have comments, but you did have comments on the articles, then the comments form would show up in the knowledge base. So what we've done here is an approach close to Drupal. We check everything per category. That means when you create a category, you assign all your preferences in there. So forget about mind-boggling settings when I'm gonna set my title, where to display, if it's gonna be linked, and stuff like that. You set these once. This is obviously a templating issue due to the small resolution of the screen. You set these once, your category. You set how it will look like. The leadings, this defines, for example, the layout of the articles in the category, the way they display. This is what I mean. You have your leading item, and then you have some primary, secondary, and so on. So you set all these in here, which you would normally do this in a menu item in Joomla. And this will never be broken. Whenever you call this category, it will show up always as this, with this pattern, with this layout pattern. Likewise, we set the view options for the articles when they get listed. So that means when all articles are set in one below the other, or in whatever format. We can choose for this specific category to what elements we're going to display or not. And this always sticks. So coming back to my previous example, your articles category will always look like articles. And if you jump to the knowledge base or some other area that you build with K2, it will not, inherit different layout elements and options. Yeah.
Joomla works with no, yes, and global. Is it possible to implement it in this? Because
Yes.
otherwise you have to do it for every category again.
No.
Setting up.
We've taken a smart approach in this, and we said this: whenever you build your website, you essentially define master areas. Like I said, you have your article section, you have your product catalog, you have your knowledge base. So it's natural that all categories in the article section will probably look the same. So whenever you specify your master category, which is on the top level of the category system, you actually set up a styling scheme, a set of styling rules, these rules. So whenever you go to create subcategories, you don't have to reinsert all these options. All you do is just tell the subcategory to inherit the parameters from its parent category. Okay, you can see the whole tree here. So as you can understand,
Yeah,
we're solving this issue. So no matter how many categories you have, it's easy to quickly set up the base skeleton for your website without having to worry about how it will look in the front end. So we got all these sorts of options. Of course, I advise you to have a look on your own. They're very detailed, and this goes down to the elements that we got. As you can understand, with Joomla, you only have like 6 or 7 elements: the title, the text, the author, the print, the email buttons. These are like 7, 8 options. But when you have a feature-rich form like K2 does, it's natural that you're going to have more options. So you saw how the categories are set up. We can easily reorder and create our tree in whatever depth we want. There's no restriction, and we can even we have some options for filtering, so you can easily browse the category that you want, in case you have a very big tree. I'm gonna refer to the items last, because it's essential to see the elements that actually make up the item. So tags are an important part of K2. We can pre-enter some tags and use these as default. So doing this, we actually overcome the problem that we cannot have items assigned to multiple categories. This is something that I've seen only Virtual do this, but it's natural because it's geared towards a product catalog. In order for us to, like I said, specify what do we want to show on each category, we had to go for this item belongs just to one category. If we want to offer some more, if we want to create other relations, we use the tagging system. In here we have our comments, like Brian asked earlier. It's more, it's richer in what you can do, and you can filter, by commenter, by URL, lots of things. It's essentially working as Joomla's article listing works. You can sort all things. And of course you can delete and publish items, and we plan to, in a later version, to add some sort of, not exactly moderation, but user reporting, for example. Because if you have a website that is big, that has a few dozens of comments every day or more. It's easy to, you want to have your community, your users being able to report some nasty comment.
Like the second record, it's spam.
It's spam because we haven't enabled the anti-spam plugin. It's been around, this demo has been around for like a month. So in here we have our users. This actually extends the Joomla user features. It's not a new user, its own component or something. We have gender options. It's not the same thing in Greek to say written by Fotis or by Helen. It's, you have to know the gender in order to appropriately do your translations. Here's the group that we can select. If you remember, I told you that we have an ACL system included, access control level, and this system is based on groups. So whenever we extend, we make some user an author or a member or something, we can select in which group he or she can be assigned to. As you can see, we have a small description for the user, the image, and some URL. And this form can easily be extended with the plugin system. So you can add hobbies or other interests with not just text fields, but drop-down lists and a whole lot more.
Searchable fields also?
Yes. We've taken the approach, our plugin system works like Joomla's. You have, I don't want to bore you with technical jargon, but I'm just going to say this. We just have an extra field in the database where we store the XML parameters. So it's easy to, we have a system that's already working. It's how the plugin system works in Joomla, and we just extended a bit so that it runs in the backend as well. Here we have our user groups. As you can see, these are the permissions or the actions. The users that belong into this group, they have these specific actions assigned to them. They can edit the content from the front end, can add items, edit their own items, edit all items, publish and post comments. When you have a multi-author environment, it's natural to have an editor-in-chief. So all the plain journalists, they can add items and edit their own items, but they cannot publish, for example, these items. This is something that only the editor-in-chief would do. So in this case, we'd actually have two groups, the editor-in-chiefs and the plain editors. Furthermore, we can define where these groups' actions take place. And this goes down to the category structure. So I can select that this group can do also all these modifications in content within these specific, for example, categories, or all categories. It's very, very flexible. And again, to not make it difficult, we can easily apply these rules to, you can, for example, have this group moderate news, for example, and just so you don't have to, every time you add a new category, you don't want to edit the groups. So you just click on this option, and the rules get applied to all children categories. Is it end time? Can we have 5 more minutes?
Can a user be a member of
otherwise
more?
we don't disturb the other group.
Are we waiting? Yeah, okay. But Johan,
Yes.
take some more time. Yeah, I'm just going to be quick on these other options.
Can a user be a member of more than one group?
No. Think about it for a second. Would there be such an occasion?
Yeah. Suppose you want to have other rights in different categories. In category A, I want to be able to do this and this and this, and in another category, I want to have other rights. So I suppose you have to define different groups for that.
So you may have one person that is editor in one category, and he's an editor-in-chief in another.
Exactly.
Isn't it too far-fetched? Okay, but you can easily extend this with a plugin system. So you could have another block be assigned below that could state, it could retrieve the category listing once more. Okay.
Thanks.
So, like I told you before, we have this feature, these CCK-like features, where we can create extra fields and have these fields rendered in the item form. By technical nature, we can only have specific types. That is, we can have the text field, the text area, the drop-down selection, and the other options there are linked. What does that mean? It means that we can create some options. For example, we can create, imagine we develop web extensions for Joomla, okay? And we are making our new website, and we're making our product pages. And we want to define that this extension belongs to Joomla 1 or Joomla 1.5. I would create a drop-down selection and add as values Joomla 1 and Joomla 1.5. When you save this, it's assigned to some group, and this group can be assigned to the product category. So whenever I go into the item page and select that this item belongs to the product category, these extra fields get retrieved below the form.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Aren't you, because you're using the categories, aren't you mixing up typical data with taxonomic data? Because you're using the categories to both define where the article belongs and what fields it consists of and what it looks like. Shouldn't you normalize that and separate it so that you can define the content type of an article and where it belongs? Because you're using...
Actually, no, because K2 is not a CCK component. It's a content component with CCK features. So we have this base form and we extend it. Because you cannot have a form with just a title and some extra fields, and another form with title, text, image, and the extra fields. Isn't this what you're asking?
Yeah, because for instance, if you have two types of articles that belong in the same category, and you want to display video data in one and just textual data in the other,
you can override
find
these.
different kinds
No,
of
you
categories.
can actually override these into the item options, because the item has options like the category has. So you can override the category options into item level. But if you think about it for a sec, you wouldn't have one category with items that display different things.
I've thought about it for 15 minutes now.
Bro, give me an example.
It's,
Good example.
now we'll talk about it after.
There isn't. Or even if there is, it's a 5% chance that there is. So what are we going to do? Are we going to stick with how Joomla is working now, or progress this to something better that will fit 95% of cases?
Well, I like it a lot, but I'm just thinking.
You have to make the key thing into developing K2 is that we had to make some conventions. One convention is this. The other convention is that we can't have an item belonging to multiple categories at the same time. How did we bypass this? We added a tag system. Okay, so it's easy to work around. It's better than not having these features alone. So you actually create the extra fields, and then you can group them here. The groups are just name references. And when you create your category, for example here, politics, I can assign, see, associated extra fields group politics. So whatever I created will be added to the item form whenever I choose this item to be part of politics. So now I'm going to go to the items, which is my last feature in K2. So I'm editing The form is exactly the same like Joomla, only we don't have sections and categories, we just have categories. As you can see, we've broken down the form into tabs. I think it's not really visible though. It's the projector. So we have the base form, like Joomla does. We have the article image that I told you before. I can easily upload my image, override it, add my captions, even override the dimension sizes if I change my mind. I have my image gallery. This is, you just zip your images, you upload them, and K2 will extract these, put the images into its own folder. The journalists don't have to bother about this. And then it will render the simple image gallery plugin in the backend and display the gallery. And of course, this gets displayed in the front end as well. Likewise, we have the video. We're using all videos here, the plugin that we made. We have three options. We can either upload our own, use a video from some third-party source, or we can use a video from service provider like YouTube, Vimeo, and more. And extra elements and the preview.
If you
Yeah,
install
attachments.
K2, you get a video player and so on with it?
Yes, in the front end, because we use the plugins. The plugins already play back in the front end, but so far it was they could not be used in the back end because Joomla cannot permit you to run the plugins, these plugins in the back end. Here we have our attachments. This is a feature that you want to use when you're making a download manager, which has tracking, download tracking. And then we have our plugins. This is the best thing. What we like the most, because you can actually extend, like I told you, the form with whatever features you want. And the extra fields, as we created them on the other page. Now see this, whenever I change a category, we've moved the category onto the right. If I use this page, they're gone. If I revert back to the correct category, they're back again. Okay.
It's magic.
So imagine that you have, yes.
Can we stop here? Because I'm sure that you still can go for a few hours and it looks very promising, the product.
Okay,
For the project.
the key thing is that we advise you to have a look at the K2 website from next week. And we'll be publishing the stable release, so you can all have a try and comment on the forum.
I have only one question.
Yes.
Is it easy to migrate the Joomla content to the K2 content?
Yes,
Or is it
we've
necessary?
built a migrator. This is going to be commercial, but cheap. We always have that policy, keep it cheap, and more people will buy it. And not only it migrates the content, as you saw the content within K2, where the sample data of Joomla, not only migrates the content, but it can easily figure out the article image and put it in the related field, resize it, and do a lot more things.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much.